You've had an incredible career in the asphalt industry, and you've shaped how we view rheology and asphalt binder. So what does that look like from your perspective, and what do you want people to understand better about rheology?
Well, rheology is a tool to help us understand materials. And in terms of what we've developed is our software, RHEA, is basically helping people analyze data. And what we want to do in the RHEA software is to have the data tell people how the materials are behaving. So many people will come to an analysis problem and try to fit the data to a model. We don't want them to do that. We want the data to inform you as to how it's behaving and what model it might fit. The other thing that we like to do with the rheology is basically help people analyze large chunks of data in a rapid and efficient way. So that for us is really important to do that.
No, that's great. I remember using your software at one of my previous jobs, and I really found it helpful.
Yeah.
Like you said, lots of quantities of data. You can break it down quickly. You can build your master curves.
Yeah.
It just really opens up a whole bunch of things that you can use. So Abitech made master curve analysis available kind of to the general asphalt industry public, so to speak. And what was your initial vision when you came up with RHEA and decided to put together software and rheology?
Well, we'd worked with software since the late 1980s. I had the privilege of working with a gentleman called Mark Sharrock. He was a whiz kid in terms of trying to organize data. And we had some work with some asphalt suppliers and polymer suppliers back then. We'd looked at some other rheology software, and we felt that there was an opportunity to try to put something custom for the asphalt industry. A lot of the rheology software out there is for the general chemical rheology industry, but it's not bespoke to what we're trying to do in asphalt. We have certain parameters that we know relate to performance. So in terms of putting this software together, it's trying to put parameters as outputs that relate directly to performance, without people having to go through the laborious task of analyzing those individually. We wanted to get away from spreadsheets because everyone can make mistakes in spreadsheets, so it just gets away from that aspect and try to put a quality piece of software there for rapid analysis and reanalysis of data sets.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. Talking about getting away from Excel spreadsheets or getting away from spreadsheets, any kind of spreadsheets, is really valuable because there's no way relationally to put the data together.
Yeah.
It's all kind of brute force at that point. So let's go back to the beginning. How did you first start in the industry?
Okay, so now we go back to the early days. So I'm a farm boy from Norfolk in England. And when I was 15, 16 years old, leaving school, I had a choice. And your choice is basically this. You go to work on a farm, or you go to work with agricultural machinery, or machinery. It's your A&M concept, your agricultural or machinery concept. And that's the landscape that I grew up in Norfolk. My dad grew apples, and we were fruit farmers. Now, the other opportunity that I had, there just happened to be this quarry, which was 6 miles up the road, that was advertising for a junior trainee lab technician. I thought, well, why not? I might get to see the world. So I joined Tarmac Roadstone back then in 1976, and it's one of my best decisions I've ever made in my life, and phenomenal opportunities since then. But at 16 years old, I started off in the lab, shaking sieves and understanding how asphalt plants work.
So you really started out boots on the ground,
Absolutely.
learning things.
Yep, and learning how an asphalt plant works, how quarries work, all of this information. This gives you a foundation in the industry. If you do all this practical stuff, you have a foundation in the industry which lasts your whole life. And I still use the information that I learned in the 1970s today when I go to sites and look at projects.
That's really cool. You said you thought you might get to see the world, so how's that worked out for you?
I'm around about 40 countries. Been to most continents, apart from Australia. So if anyone from Australia is watching, I'd love to come down and visit you sometime. But Asia, Africa, Europe, South America, North America.
So you want to go down under?
Down under
in
would be good.
Australia?
So there we go.
I don't actually know anything about Australia, but I've heard that phrase before with it, associated with it. So with all that travel, Ann said, we got to ask you, with all the travel you've done, do you have a favorite spot or a couple favorite spots?
You know, recently I've spent a lot of time in South Africa, and I really enjoy being in South Africa. Fascinating country. Been doing some work in different parts of the Himalaya region, working in Nepal, Kyrgyzstan, those sort of areas. Beautiful areas to go and visit. Very different. And you look at the different countries around the world, they all have little beautiful spots to go and visit. You know, Kyrgyzstan in the mountains is so gorgeous. Same with Nepal. South Africa, I mean, there's beautiful places. So I can't say there's one best place I've ever been to. There's just each of these countries have their little treasures that are worth visiting.
I like that. That's a good answer. So you mentioned you have two companies. Can you tell us a little bit about each of them and kind of what you do with them? And
well, the two businesses that I'm involved with, Abatec is a consulting business, and we basically provide consulting advice, whether it's on pavements or materials, to folks around the world. And then we have a second business which is called MatCon, and MatCon was a company that looks at environmental covers on waste and contaminated sites. So that's the second business that I'm involved with. And we're trying to implement solutions that help deal with polluted sites around the world, but mainly in North America.
Okay. That's very cool. Yeah, so I was familiar with Abatec. I didn't realize you had another company that you were involved with, so very cool. So if you weren't doing this, if you weren't involved in this industry, what would you be doing?
Well,
but I think you just told us, so maybe I might like going backwards again.
Going backwards again. So, you know, I guess I had a travel bug in me from, you know, my early childhood. And the other job that I was looking at doing to try and escape the agriculture and machinery side of things was to be on a boat and sail the world. So I was looking at a merchant navy type occupation. But that's sort of like going back now 50 plus years. But as a kid, as you know, a 14, 15-year-old kid, I was trying to choose my classes at school so I could maybe enter the merchant navy as some sort of officer on a ship. And that's what I was looking at back then. But I'm quite glad I didn't do that because I think this career and the people, the friendships you make was so much better than being on a boat going around the world.
That's a theme we've heard as we've been here at the Peterson Asphalt Research Conference, the people.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about the people and how great the friendships are, and it's just a great community to be part of.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's so great to hear that. It's been a theme in every interview I've done, so I think that's really cool. Yeah, so mixing materials is all about learning about the people in our industry, trying to teach people some things along the way, but really just learning about who everybody is and what brought us here and what kind of keeps us all connected and together. What excites you most about the future of the asphalt industry?
Well, I'm going to go back again a little bit. And I had a friend, this was a gentleman from South Africa back then, and they were talking about maybe 30, 40 years ago, and he made a comment to me that, why are you looking at the asphalt industry? He said, we know everything's done. And this is 30, 40 years ago. And I look at what we're doing, and I think how wrong he was. Everything is continually developing. We look at the technologies that we're looking at today, and we look at what's happening 10, 20 years ago. Things are moving on so rapidly. We have so many challenges facing us. You know, in terms of the recycling of products, this is a key environmental concern at the moment. We need to recycle and have pavements constructed with a greater proportion of recycling. In 10 years' time, we're going to have to, or 10, 15, 20 years' time, we're going to have to recycle those recycled products.
Yes.
We're going to have to learn new technologies to enable us to do this. So we have a continually evolving climate. We have electric vehicles, which are going to put heavier loads on pavements because of the extra weight of the batteries. We're going to have to design better structures. We're going to have to think, how do we farm pavements and the energy from pavements? John Reed, who gave the keynote lecture here, touched on some of those points and some of the innovations that we're going to need to make. So I just see this business in terms of understanding asphalt technology and the future of this industry being continually evolving. And it's an exciting business. It's an exciting business from the point of view is that we don't quite know what's coming next. And I look at my job a bit like Tom Hanks sitting on that bench in the town there where he's looking at those box of chocolates and thinking, you don't know what flavor's coming next. And to me, that's almost like the asphalt industry. We don't quite know what's coming next. The next flavor of the chocolate we get, which way the industry is going to go. So it's an exciting industry.
I like that. Asphalt is like a box of chocolates.
Absolutely. You don't know what's coming next. You don't know what's going to happen next. It makes life exciting.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it does.
And it's, I've been doing this nearly 50 years now. I complete my 49th year in about 5 days' time. August the 2nd is my 49th year completed in the industry. And that's how my life has been in the industry. You just don't know what challenge you're going to get next. And it makes the whole industry and business so exciting.
That's cool. Would you have ever imagined back when you were shaking rocks 49 years ago that you would have done all the traveling that you have done? Like, I know you said you wanted to travel, that was but could you have ever imagined?
It's sort of interesting. I looked at myself when I went to Tarmac originally. I thought, I might get to be a quarry manager or plant manager or something like this. This was, at 16 years old, you have a certain goal where you think you might want to get. And then you see expanding opportunities. And that's the nice thing about this industry, is if you want to go somewhere in the industry, there's lots of opportunities to move in different directions. So would I have ever envisioned myself on the first few days, first weeks of doing what I did? There was no way I would envisage it when I started work. But, the realization that you could do different things certainly came on within the first few years. And, you do the graft, you do the hard work for the first few years, and then you can start to see, as your career develops, where you might move to.
What is one thing you wish binder software could do with no effort from you?
With no effort from me? Mm-hmm. I really don't know the answer to that one.
Is there any data that you would just be like, if I could just say this, and you could grab all the data from everybody who's ever done any testing, what information would be valuable?
Well, we're going to be making more use of things like artificial intelligence, neural network analysis in the future to help us formulate materials better and to do things more rapidly. A lot of that's going to depend on having good input data and then subsequently good output data. So these are things that are going to come along, but they all require some sort of initial setup and initial analysis. But we will have those tools available in the future. We don't have them yet, but this is a future ambition to have.
Yeah, we're always talking about interconnected data. We heard about it last week at Napa. We've heard about it here at Park.
Yeah.
It's definitely the move of the future, and it's the way to move forward. What is the proudest moment in your career?
From my point of view, there's been a few things that I look at and I have very fond memories of. One is being the president of the Association of Asphalt Paving Technologists. I mean, it was a great honor, to have that. And then if I look at the things that have developed, somebody even made a parameter and they put my name on it, and I don't feel I quite really deserve that. But I mean, that's been quite nice to be associated with Charles Glover, and that parameter was.
So Glover Rowe is named after you? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. Fortunately or unfortunately, and I can blame Gail King for some of that because he was the person who coined that phrase. So.
That's very cool. So you probably had an opportunity in your career to meet some really interesting people who had some really big impacts on the industry, and I don't expect you to remember all of them, but is there a couple that stand out that you'd would like to be able to sit down and have a drink with and be able to talk to?
Well, I'm going to say 2 or 3 people. And Carl Monismith was the person who examined my PhD. Fantastic guy, and he certainly made a huge impact in terms of my career. We lost him unfortunately this year, and he was just such a great guy. Here in Laramie, you have to mention Clayne Peterson. Clayne Peterson, who this conference is named after, was a wonderful, fine gentleman, fantastic chemistry in terms of the asphalt chemistry work he did. I had the pleasure of working with him on many times. And then the other person I'd like to mention is Norman MacLeod. Norman MacLeod out of Canada said a lot of what we know in our asphalt mix design world. He was one of the pioneers of understanding volumetrics and working on some of the asphalt mix design issues in Hong Kong, in Asia, Africa, and other places. Some of his work has very significantly impacted what I've done. I could carry on. I could name another 10 people in this, and maybe I shouldn't just limit it to those 3, but I'll just do that from the point of brevity of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, there's just so many great people in this industry. It's hard, even for me, and I've been in it for 25 plus years, and I could sit here and spend a couple hours telling you about everybody who's had an impact on my career, and that's once again, the people in this industry are why we're here. That's why we've stayed. Is there anything you want to talk about before we wrap up? Anything that you haven't talked about?
I think we're fairly good. Well, let me just say this one thing is, in terms of the industry and where we are in the industry. I'm now been in the industry for 50 years nearly, and what I want to do is to say to people, we're here to help other people. And if people want to reach out and ask me questions or reach out for advice or whatever, we're really happy to do that. This is part of the industry that we're in, and I think many people want to give back as well as take. And it's a wonderful industry. We have many friends, and I'm very happy for anyone to reach out at any time. And if I can help people develop their careers and whatever, I'm very happy to do so. And thank you for hosting this.
Yeah, I what you said just really hit home to me, because I was able to reach out to you, right, and say, hey, would you be on this podcast? And you were absolutely whatever we can do to collaborate and help each other out. And that's the heart of the asphalt industry to me. We all want to collaborate, we all want to help each other, and it just makes such a great environment to come to work every day. So thank you for being with us here, and thank you for joining us on Mixing Materials. So that's a wrap for Mixing Materials. Keep learning, keep building, and see you next time on the road to knowledge.